New York hospitals and nursing homes bracing for a massive staff shortage as some of the nation's most aggressive COVID vaccine mandates go into effect tomorrow.
About 84% of the state's 450,000 hospital workers are vaccinated, meaning as many as 94,000 workers are not. And it could result in a dire staff shortfall.
Fox News medical contributor Dr. Marc Siegel is here to react. Doctor, thanks so much for being here. You're a part of one of the biggest hospital networks in New York, NYU Langone. If this goes into effect, are you going to see shortages, and what's it going to mean?
Well, I'm not sure we're going to see shortages at NYU, but I think that there are definite big concerns with this situation and how it's being handled. You know, I believe in the vaccine very, very strongly, but I think the question is, how do you work with it? First of all, there needs to be a carve-out for people who got over COVID and aren't ready for the vaccine yet,
right.
And they have immunity too, and they shouldn't be marginalized or targeted. That's number one. Number two, there needs to be a testing strategy for people who can't have the vaccine or won't have the vaccine. There needs to be a strategy in place where you could test people frequently. Number three, are you kidding me, bringing in the National Guard and federal workers and maybe foreign healthcare workers? Are you kidding me? How are they going to acclimate to a hospital here in New York? You know what they're going to do? They're not going to know the hospital or the infection control precautions, guys. They're going to spread COVID potentially. It's another example of a politicization of a healthcare issue. So, really, really disturbing. It should not be done.
So that's an interesting question you bring up. So what's more dangerous, having unvaccinated healthcare workers, some of them perhaps have already had COVID, but let's just say unvaccinated healthcare workers versus new, either foreign or recently graduated or, healthcare workers taking their place?
I agree with you where you're going with that, Rachel. It's much more dangerous to bring in people taking their place, who may themselves not be vaccinated, by the way, or even if they are, they may not understand infection control precautions and how to decrease spread. I forgot to mention one thing. What about all of the depression and the anxiety and this uprooting of people whose lives are destroyed and how it affects their families when they suddenly find themselves without a job that they may have had for 15 or 20 years? I have said since the beginning when the vaccine rolled out, we have to work with people. We have to talk to them one-on-one. We have to figure out what their concerns are and deal with them that way, not superimposed government threats, bullying, and mandates.
Dr. Siegel, I want to ask you about the medical journal The Lancet disbanding its COVID origins panel over its ties to Peter Daszak's EcoHealth Alliance. Now, you can answer that specifically, but in the limited amount of time we have, one of the things I find fascinating is the capture of previously esteemed sources of knowledge, whether or not it be medical journals or the medical community at large. We seem to be getting one message from all in these ivory towers, and that message is increasingly one that should be suspect.
Yeah, that's so well stated, Will. Listen, Jeffrey Sachs from Columbia, to mention the name, has said, we can't go forward with our coronavirus origins task force right now because we were affiliated with Lancet. And Lancet was affiliated with Peter Daszak, and Peter Daszak was involved with gain-of-function research in Wuhan. So they're going to actually disband that force and look at a larger issue there at Columbia about lab safety, which I'm glad about. And thank God University of Virginia is rising to the task and is going to start a new investigation. But what about all the delay here? What about all the fumbling? What about all the cover-ups going on? I mean, and the conflicts of interest. I mean, how late is this in the game to start to figure out or to prove where this came from? I mean, the whole thing smells, doesn't it?
Yeah, it reeks, that's for sure.
It does. Maybe the Lancet's trying to get its reputation back, or what it has left. No, I mean, at some point you got to look around and say, why don't we distance ourselves from the guys who started this and maybe try to do an independent investigation? Or maybe we wrote a letter 2 years ago that was a sham. Let's repair that. Let's hope that's the truth. Who knows?
Dr. Siegel.
Exactly.
Thank you, Doctor.
This morning.
Thank you, Dr.